Good evening, everybody. This is Mr. Lowe with today's lesson on capacity. So, as you are going through this lesson, you're going to want to make sure you have a pencil handy and your math notebook so that you can write down some of the equivalents, especially when we get introduced to gallon guy or gallon man or gallon girl. So, today we have on the board, I have a 1 gallon jug over on this side, and then I have different icons over here for a gallon. That would be a gallon of milk. This would be a quart of half and half, which is like creamer. This is a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, particularly Chunky Monkey, one of my favorites. And we have a measuring cup that measures 1 cup of liquid. We're dealing with capacity. We're trying to figure out, okay, talk about liquids. How much liquid can we pour into a container? So if I were to fill up this 1 gallon quart, it would only take 1 gallon of liquid. So there's my yellow liquid, shows you what a gallon is. Again, all we're doing here is just clicking on the gallon, and it is filling this container up. So now if I go over to my quarts, and I just by visualizing, by just looking at the pictures, I can see that a quart is smaller than a gallon. But now let's try and figure out how many quarts are actually in 1 gallon. So if we pour some in there, we can see that it fills it up about that much. It looks like it's about 1/4, but let's just wait and see. So there's some more. So that's 2 quarts. There's 3 quarts. And there are 4 quarts. And actually that's what it is. There are 4 quarts in every gallon. 4 quarts in every gallon. So if there are 4 quarts in every gallon, the next size down that I have is a pint. I'd like to know how many pints are there in 1 quart. So let's drop this back down to 1 quart. So there's my 1 quart. And now I can look at how many pints are in that 1 quart. So as we click on the pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, we're going to fill up just the red section for now. So there's 1 pint, and there are 2 pints in every quart. So now let's think about this. If there's 2 pints in every quart and 4 quarts in every gallon, that means in 2 quarts, well, there's 2 pints. There's 4 pints now. So there's 4 pints in 2 quarts. In 3 quarts, there's going to be 5 and 6 pints. And in 4 quarts, which is 1 gallon, there will be 7, 8 pints. Okay? So there's 4 quarts in a gallon and 8 pints in a gallon. Because remember, every quart has 2 pints. So now let's go back down here. We'll just kind of mess around here for a minute. And let's pay particularly close attention just to the quarts now. So here's my 1 quart. I know that there are 2 pints in every quart. And now let's go look and see how many cups there are in every pint. So instead of doing that, let's put 1 pint on here. And now let's take a look at how many cups it takes just to fill up the blue section, which is 1 pint. And there are 2 cups in every pint. So if there are 2 cups in every pint, that means if I have 2 pints, there's 4 cups. And if I have 3 pints, there's 6 cups. And if I have 4 pints, which is a half a gallon, which is equal to 2 quarts, there were 6 here, 7, 8 cups in 2 quarts, which is a half gallon. So gets a little confusing, but at least the picture here can kind of show you what it looks like. So now if I were only looking at cups, I want to know how many cups is it in 1 gallon. I could sit here and click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 cups in 1 gallon. Now you're probably asking yourself, hey Mr. Lowe, is there an easier way to understand these units of standard units of capacity? Because right now we're only talking about standard units, which are gallon, quarts, pints, and cups. There is. We introduce the big G. The big G is the big gallon guy. So on your piece of paper, I would like you to draw me a nice large letter G, very similar to what we have here. And inside your letter G, I would like you to make 4 large letter Q's. So here's what this represents then. Each of these Q's is one of our quarts. So inside 1 gallon, that's the letter G, there are 4 quarts. G equals gallon, Q equals quarts. There are 4 quarts in a gallon. 4 quarts in a gallon. It's the same thing as tapping on the quart icon 4 times and filling up that container. So now, inside each quart now, there are 2 pints. P represents pints. So there are 2 pints inside each quart. That means that for every gallon, there are 2, 4, 6, 8 pints. So we have 4 quarts in a gallon, 8 pints in a gallon. All I did was realize, hey, I have 2 pints in every quart, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts. That's 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 pints in a gallon. So far, so good. And you should be writing all this stuff down, you guys. And now inside each pint, there are 2 cups. So there are 2 cups in a pint. Every pint has 2 cups, and because there are 2 pints in each quart, that means there are 1, 2, 3, 4 cups inside that quart. And because there are 4 quarts in a gallon, there are 4 times 4, which is 16 cups in a gallon. And you can just count them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So you can just go ahead and count those. And then what we're looking at is inside each cup there are 8 ounces. 8 ounces. That's what the letter 8 means. So in every cup you have 8 ounces, which means there are 16 ounces in a pint and 32 ounces in a quart. Now we're getting 16 in a pint because there are 2 cups in a pint. And inside each of those cups is an 8 ounce. 8 ounces, so 2 times 8 is 16. There are 2 pints in a quart. 2 times 16 is 32. 32 ounces in a quart. Another way to look at it is there are 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 8 is 32. And then there are 128 ounces in a gallon. I'm taking 32 and I'm multiplying it by 1, 2, 3, 4. 32 times 4 is 128. So another way to look at that is also there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 8-ounce pieces. 16 times 8. It's 128. So, once you've got gallon guy down, it's easy to memorize. Big G, inside the big G are 4 Q's. Inside each Q is 2 P's. And inside each P is 2 C's. And inside each C is 8 ounces. 8 ounces. Okay? So now what we can do is do a couple of problems here. If I have a problem that might look like this, and let me kind of make it a little bit bigger for y'all. How many pints are there in 14 cups? Well, what I would do is I would make my G, and inside my G I know there are 4 Q's. And if I were doing this on a test, I might say, okay, well, inside each one of those Q's now, there are 2 P's. The question was, how many pints are there in 14 cups? Well, each P has 2 C's. So if I have 14 cups, that means I have 14 letter C's. And 14 divided by 2, 14 divided by 2 is 7. That means I have 7 pints. 7 pints. I take my 1P, which is 14, and I'm dividing it by 2 cups. So I have 14 total cups divided by 2 cups per pint equals 7 pints. And it says how many ounces are there in 2 quarts? Well, here's my Q, that's 1 quart, and inside 1 quart there are 2 P's, and inside 2 P's there are 2 C's, and inside 2 C's there are 8 ounces, or inside 1 C there is 8 ounces. So now I have 8 and 8 right here, which is 16, and 16 times 2, 16 times 2, 2 times 2, or 2 times 6 is 12, carry my 1, 2 times 1 plus 1 is 32, so in every 1 quart there are 32, and I would times that by 2 because I'm looking at 2 quarts. So 32 times 2 is 64 ounces. So there are 64 ounces in 2 quarts of liquid. And then this last one says, how many quarts are there in 2.5 gallons? Well, in 1 gallon, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 quarts. That means in 2 gallons, there's going to be 2 times that, which would be 2 times 4, which is 8. Problem is, I don't need to know what 2 gallons have. I need to know what 2.5. So I have 8. Now I take that gallon, I can cut it in half. That's 9 and 10. So there are 10 quarts in 2.5 gallons. A couple of examples there. Now let me show you one problem that showed up actually on the OAA assessments. And when we do that, take a peek at it, because I think you guys can probably figure it out. It says, after swim practice, each of the 30 swim team members gets 8 ounces of juice. The coach brought 2 gallons of juice to practice. In your answer document, determine which or whether the coach brought enough juice for each team member to get 8 ounces. Well, you probably want to figure out how many total ounces there are. Total ounces. And then, once you figure out the total number of ounces, you can divide that by 8, and that should help you figure out whether or not they have enough. So in 2 gallons of juice, how many ounces there are? Well, if you draw your big G, and you have 4 Q's, and inside each Q is 2 P's, now you're looking at trying to figure out how many ounces 2 gallons is. Well, inside each P is 2 C's, and inside each C is 8 ounces.
Are you there?
All right. Have a good day. I gotta go because the phone's ringing.